Today, we're going to dig into a huge, creeping crisis, one that threatens our global food supply. But we're also going to talk about some remarkable plants that might just hold the key to our future. Okay, look at this number, 50%. By the middle of this century, we are at risk of losing half of our world's farmable land. And the culprit? An invisible threat, salt. Yeah, you heard that right. Climate change, human activity, it's all accelerating this process, and it could make half the land we use to grow our food totally unusable. And believe me, this isn't just a problem in one or two places. We're talking about a global issue, from the Middle East to Australia, North Africa. It's happening everywhere. And the cost? It's staggering. We're talking over $27 billion every single year just in lost production. That's a huge blow to the world's economy and to farmers everywhere. So here's the core of the problem. Most of the plants we eat, the really important stuff like wheat, corn, rice, they're what scientists call glycophytes. And what that really means is they're just not built for salt. They're freshwater plants, through and through. So as the soil gets saltier, it becomes toxic to them. They just can't survive. So what happens when the very ground we rely on starts poisoning the plants we need to live? It's a scary thought, right? But what if nature already has a solution? Okay, let me introduce you to the hero of our story, the halophyte. The name is pretty simple. It's from the Greek for salt and plant, so a salt plant. Now, these guys make up less than 2% of all plant species on Earth, but they have an incredible superpower. They don't just tolerate salt, they actually thrive in it. And the difference between them and our regular crops? It's like night and day. You put a normal crop in salty soil, it withers up and dies. But halophytes, they've had thousands, even millions of years to evolve these super sophisticated ways to handle it. They've learned not just to survive the salt, but in some cases, even use it to their advantage. It's wild. So the big question is, how? How in the world do they pull this off? How do they survive in an environment that's basically poison to almost every other plant out there? Well, to really get it, you gotta look inside their biological toolkit. Turns out they've got this awesome 3-part survival strategy for dealing with all that salt. Yeah, these plants have developed this incredible set of tools to handle the salt. It's really a masterclass in evolution. You can kind of boil it down to 3 simple ideas: block it out, sweat it out, or water it down. First, they try to keep the salt from even getting inside. If some sneaks in, they have ways to kick it out, and if all else fails, they just dilute it. So let's break that down a bit. Okay, strategy number 1, block it out. Think of their roots like the world's best bouncers at a super exclusive club. They have these specialized waxy barriers called the Casparian band, and they act as a highly selective filter. They check every ion at the door and physically stop the toxic salt from getting into the plant's water supply. It's an amazing first line of defense. All right, so what happens if a little salt gets past the bouncers? Well, that's where strategy number 2 comes in: sweat it out. Some of these plants have special salt glands on their leaves that literally pump out salt crystals. Others have these tiny balloon-like cells called salt bladders. They basically grab the salt and lock it away in storage, keeping it far from all the important parts of the plant. So clever. And for the final strategy, water it down. If some salt does start to build up inside, a lot of halophytes have a great trick. They become succulents, with those thick, fleshy leaves. Well, that's because they're storing huge amounts of water, and all that extra water helps dilute the salt concentration inside their cells down to safe levels. It's a simple but really effective solution. Okay, so we've got these incredible natural salt handling experts all around us. The obvious question then becomes, how can we use their tricks to solve our problems? How can we harness this plant power for our farms? Well, scientists are working on a really cool 2-part plan. For the short term, we can actually use these plants to clean up salty soil. But the real long-term goal, the real game changer, is to figure out their genetic secrets and use them to engineer our own salt-tolerant crops. So that first approach is called phytoremediation, and it's pretty straightforward. You basically plant huge fields of halophytes, and they act like natural vacuum cleaners for salt. Take a plant like Sueta salsa. In just 1 year, it can suck up 3 to 4 tons of sodium from a single hectare of land. It just stores it in its leaves, and boom, the soil is cleaner and ready for other crops. But that's just part 1. The second, and maybe even more powerful application, is all about genetics. And this quote really sums it up perfectly. The ultimate goal here is to find the exact genes that give these plants their salt-handling superpowers, and then transfer those genes into our traditional crops. And listen, this isn't just some sci-fi dream. It's actually happening right now. Scientists are already giving our crops new superpowers. I mean, check this out. They took a gene from a halophyte, put it into cotton, and suddenly that cotton could handle salty soil way better because it could balance its own internal chemistry. They've done similar things with poplars and other plants. It's amazing stuff. So all of this leaves us with a really interesting final thought, doesn't it? For pretty much all of human history, we've been fighting a war against salt in our fields. But what if that's the wrong approach? Maybe to secure our food for the future, we need to stop fighting and start learning from these amazing salt-loving plants. What if the future of farming depends on crops that are just a little bit salty?